Oh boy. Oh, I like that one. Why do farmers wear overalls? That's a good question. I definitely wear them in the winter because they cover up the most and prevent any wind from getting in. But I'm pretty weird when in the summer we're out in grass all the time. Like I'm wearing basketball shorts or t-shirt, and sometimes I'm wearing sandals or just tennis shoes. So why is grazing bad? I don't even know where that's coming from.
Which is followed by, why is grazing important?
Yeah, why is grazing important?
I'm guessing that's for like out west. Why is grazing
Yeah.
bad?
Well, yeah, and it's pretty interesting to see. Like, I go on social media quite a bit, and I really want to I feel like I get on people's nerves, because I'll constantly just be like, there's different types of grazing, and there's definitely destructive, degrading types of grazing, which rightfully so have gotten, a lot of attention and people pushing back against that. But I think that's a lot different. And I'm not going to say that the way that I'm farming and grazing, if everyone did this, it would solve all the world's problems. Like, I don't think that would. But I see a lot, like, for me, as a wildlife person, that's my values and ethics and conservation are very important to me. Wildlife is super important and like providing habitat. And it bothers me when people think that like rotational grazing should be lumped in with continuous grazing or set stock grazing or grazing really fragile. Hey, come here. The camera loves you. Oh, thank you. Oh, thanks. For us, our crop is just pasture. So really what we're rotating is our animals, and that's just to help the plant regrow and that they're always constantly getting kind of optimal nutrition. If they're eating one spot, eat all the nice stuff, and then they walk to the next spot and that gets to regrow. By the time they get all the way around, it'll be nicely full grown, and instead of having them kind of eat everything down and then keep it at bay, they're constantly able to eat like maximum stuff. Isn't that right? Seem pretty happy with that. Why is grazing bad for the environment is a little bit extension. And I'll talk like an ecologist on this one. And I think we need to have nuance in what we're talking about with grazing. And having grazing in fragile areas or really sensitive areas needs very, very careful management to have it work, and probably should just be avoided and let natural processes take hold there. So there's obviously areas where there's farmers or grazers that are doing a bad job that are getting a lot of attention, and then there's other farmers that are trying their best and having a positive impact and maybe not getting as much attention in our current media environment, that type of stuff. Why is grazing good for grasslands? I think part of that is, grasslands evolved in the presence of grazing. So having some type of that effect, that type of disturbance, a disturbance regime that's appropriate for that area, and not all grasslands are the same. So having a grassland in Nebraska is going to be different than a grassland that's in the central sands of Wisconsin, and the management that we should have for them is different. Having grassland right here is going to be different than a grassland in California, or it's all, we can't boil this down to we can't simplify things too much. It needs to have nuance. Why is grazing good for the soil? Again, it depends on what type of grazing, how you're grazing, but in general, you're going to be providing that disturbance that most of the forage species are evolved to handle, and they're going to, for the most part, is just protecting, having a perennial cover so that the soil is not being exposed to all the harsh conditions of the sun or wind or erosion, that type of stuff. That protecting it, keeping it cooler in the summer is going to promote biological activity. So in general, it's going to be just that cover. It's going to improve, and you get really in depth on why it's better for a nutrient and energy cycling thing. But the way I kind of look at it is like grazing, and whoever's grazing is kind of that keystone species that can initiate a lot of positive impact and ripple effects that don't happen overnight again, but they compound over the years, and as the system is stable, it'll keep getting more and more built in. Every little thing does make a difference, and again, like everything that's good, it tends to not have a immediate showing. You can't see signs of it immediately, but it adds up over time, and I think that's where we're at with our food system, our environment, that there's a lot of things that's easy to be discouraged or even just like completely disconnected from because it's hard and painful to think about. But there's a lot of positives that you can focus on and have faith and hope that that's gonna pay off in the end.